Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of project LT500r Quadzilla. It's go time. It's been about a month since I was able to shoot part 1 and I don't have any more time left. I've got less than a month before I gotta get ready to go to Waynoka, Oklahoma, and this bike has to be ripping. And project LT500r still has to get touched up a little bit too. There's some fine tuning that has to be done on it. I still haven't done the initial startup. I gotta get the initial startup of this thing too. We gotta break things in. We gotta get things ready to go. So there's a lot to be done and a little bit of time to do it. Let's get started. So even though there's a high level of urgency, there was actually an opportunity that popped up the other day that my dad and I couldn't pass up. There were two little things that I was actually unsettled about on this build. And one of the things was this rear shock I had mentioned in part 1. The front is gonna have Elka shocks all the way around, well, not all the way around, but the front is gonna have Elka shocks, and I couldn't get a rear Elka shock for the rear. That was keep me awake at night. I really wanted everything to be matching, and so I was a little unsettled about that. And then another thing is I'm gonna be running this Dr. Q exhaust system, and for that gigantic expansion chamber, you actually have to trim the fenders a little bit. I'll put a picture up on screen of what I'm talking about. And so you see kind of that you have to trim around the pipe a little bit just for some fitment. And I didn't know what to do because this is a brand new set of OEM fenders, discontinued. They're priceless. And I didn't know what to do because I didn't want to cut that dog ear, so to speak, or that elephant ear, so to speak, over there so that the pipe could fit. So yeah, those are some big things that I didn't know. Those are hurdles I had to get over. I didn't really know what was going to happen with the bike. And then the perfect opportunity popped up. I kid you not, about 13 minutes away, this gem popped up and my dad just had to grab it. He called me and it was actually on Craigslist of all places. People don't really use Craigslist that much anymore. This was the only quad racer for sale on Craigslist. It was 13 minutes away, and check this thing out. It's freaking gorgeous. So the big things on this bike were Elka shocks all the way around. This is a 1987 LT500r Quadzilla, and it also has brand new fenders that someone had already gone through the trouble of cutting for the Dr. Q pipe. So it was a big moral question previously on whether or not I have to trim the fenders for that big expansion chamber, and this bike's already been done, so it relieves so much of a headache. It's got an Elka shock on the back, which is exactly what I was searching for. This bike's amazing. Plus, it'll end up in Oklahoma with us. It'll just be an extra bike in case we're having issues with one of ours. So this bike it was the perfect opportunity. It was local and we got a great deal on it. This is a perfect example. I mentioned mounting the nose pieces up while the bikes are just sitting. This is an example of the tab there cracking just from sitting, and then over there. The tab is still intact, but the crack extended up that way instead. So there's just a lot of pressure on that area with the factory nose piece. Just something to keep in mind. Quick little pro tip, the nose pieces here have a little bitty little tongue and groove thing right here, and when you take a nose piece off, you don't just want to lift straight up on it. You'll end up breaking that little tab. You want to slide it back first and unhook it from the yellow fenders, So slide back, there you go. See this little hook right here? If you just rip up, you'll end up just ripping that off, and it's really hard to plastic weld that and make it look good. So there's that. When you're taking the nose piece off as well, I recommend turning it sideways. Sideways is a little bit easier to clear the top of the stem without scratching it, and then you just turn the back side of it out and you won't end up scratching anything. You can see even on this like almost new nose piece, it's still got some scratch marks just from people scraping it right around here on the stem. That's avoidable if you just do what I showed. So I just got the fenders off, and now I'm actually gonna take all of the shocks off all the way around. And they're actually probably all gonna find their way onto Project LT500r. I think this entire set of Elkas is actually nicer than the set that I was gonna put on it. So might as well just do a little minor upgrade there. But man, this bike, even despite the yellow painted frame and the incorrect shade of blue on stuff like the grab bar and the motor, this bike's freaking awesome. This bike was built by a very educated and intentional builder at some point in time. And this thing's pretty wicked. I'm excited to take this to Oklahoma with us. Just a quick note, having a stand that is controllably liftable and lowerable is awesome when it comes to working on the rear ends of honestly any bike at all, especially bikes with a linkage. It actually helps to break bolts loose, to break nuts loose at least, having the bolt under a load, because it doesn't spin as easily. But then when you want to get it out, you want to be able to lower the bike to where the rear wheels are just barely on the ground, just barely touching, and that just relieves the pressure on the bolt just enough to where, here, let's see if I can do this here, where I can ideally push it right on out. Just like that. Perfect. So I was able to do that just with my hand because I had the lift in the right position. To be continued. All right, so now back on to the main course. I've got, these are the Elkas that just came off the new 87 Zilla, and these are the Elkas that I was going to put on the bike. Right now I'm just gonna check for the eye-to-eye length, eyelet to eyelet. It's referred to as, and I'm also gonna see the condition of these other Elkas. They've been wrapped up in these Elka shock boots, so I'm assuming that they've actually been pretty well preserved. I'm really excited to see the condition of these things. Oh my gosh, yeah, this looks amazing. You can even see the galvanizing on the inner shock tube there. So it looks pretty much brand new. Yeah, these boots actually did a really good job. I'm actually torn. I don't think I'm gonna run them on Project LT500r just because I wanna, you know, kind of make the bike as showy as possible. But wow, that looks really good too. Yeah, these shocks are definitely going on Project LT500r. You can see these new shocks compared to the old ones. Yeah, these just look like they're still in perfect condition. Like you can see that kind of green color on the inner shock tube there. as opposed to these that were not covered up and they were left outside. The hoses are definitely browning and getting kind of dry. The bump stop in there in the shock is cracked. The rubber bump stop's cracked. These will definitely be on the bike. For aesthetic reasons, I'm actually going to leave them uncovered, even though these boots actually did a really good job at preserving the shocks. I said that I was going to measure the eyelet length, and then I totally forgot to go and do it. These are the old ones, these are the new ones, and I'm looking at the length of them, and they are identical. So that answers all my questions. For sure running these new shocks as opposed to the old ones. All right, so I've just been cruising for quite a while. I got the shocks installed, front and rear. I threw the grab bar on and the seat latch. I'm starting to get the wiring done. What else have I done? I tightened a couple bolts up around the bike. Just did a quick once over of the rear end. The rear end is now all tight and ready to go. I was gonna tell you guys, I'm going to hook up the wiring right now, and one thing that's nice to have for some of your wiring connections is some bulb grease. Bulb grease, like it says, it basically just makes sure that there's a good connection, and it can actually waterproof your connections and make them easier to come apart as well, which is nice. I recommend doing that. It's not essential, but it gives you a lot of good peace of mind. But anyways, I'm gonna get back to it. All right, I just finished up the wiring off camera. There wasn't much to see. I had to add some of these male-female connectors, which you see right there. I had to kind of make some different wiring systems connect together. The old SCR bike kind of had a different wiring system than some of the other electronics that were on the bike. But yeah, I've got the male-female connectors, and then I heat wrap it all. Just to make it look a little bit nicer and seal up and everything. And that's about it. Moving on. So I just got the dual carb setup installed, and while I'm really excited about the increased airflow, man, that was difficult. There is just not enough room right here for 2 carbs. I know the Suzuki engineers back in the day, they engineered it to work, but it's still very, very tight. Regardless, it's done. So I'm gonna move on to just buttoning up the rest of the throttle cable. And if you guys have never installed a twist throttle, this bike's actually gonna have a twist throttle, at least out of the gate. What happens is this is your throttle cable, and that little ball locks into that little channel. It wraps around that little wheel and then just spits out the side right there. That is basically how you install a twist throttle. There's a little bitty cap on top of it that just goes right there. But yeah, very simple. All right, so I'm gonna finish installing this throttle cable. I would recommend throwing some like white lithium grease in here. It just helps keep the plastic lubricated. We got some plastic on plastic movement here. It's nice to keep it lubricated. So I got that in there. Throw the cap back on. And we're good to go. All right, I've just been cruising some more, and I'm doing good. I'm actually about to put the exhaust on, and I was gonna take a second to show you guys. This is a cool sight, something that was probably seen years ago, but I think that Dr. Q is done producing exhaust systems. But this is the original bag that all of the hardware came in. So this is your exhaust flange, some of your exhaust springs. This is the boot between the expansion chamber and the silencer. But yeah, I thought that was kind of cool to show you guys. This is what hoarding does. You go back in the garage and you pull out boxes from years and years ago. But yeah, this brand new, never mounted Dr. Q exhaust system. It's gonna look really, really sharp on this bike. Actually, you can see that's basically what it's gonna look like on that new 87 that we just got. But yeah, pretty excited to install it. So I just got the exhaust system on, and I just can't stop staring at this thing. This thing is just crazy looking. Check out like the look down like the backbone too, like the dual air filters wrapped around the big Elka shock. It's almost like they're hugging the shock. This bike is just, I mean, this is a dream bike. This thing is insane. I got that exhaust system on. I actually had to wrestle it a little bit to get it on, but now that it's on, it just makes the whole bike. I mean, this thing is so freaking pretty. But yeah, guys, I'm actually going to wrap up for the day here in a second. I got to get going, but before I do that, I'm going to give you guys one little sneak peek of what it's going to look like when it's done, and drop it to the ground and throw the wheels on. So you guys are welcome. right, guys, I've got it on the ground, and before I go any further, I can answer the question you guys are all thinking. Why the heck's it on flat track tires? That's just because the initial tuning and running of the bike, we need flat track wheels just because all I have is pavement and dirt around me, and I can't run any paddles. Even though the bike will ultimately just be a dune bike, right out of the gate, it's gonna have these flat track wheels on it. That's also why I put the flat track wheels in the title picture, the picture for the video. Just because this is the first set of wheels you're going to see it with, so that is just going to be that. But guys, I can't believe the shock situation and the fender situation. I mean, what a fluke! What the timing, the location. It was a good deal. The fact that got a brand new set of fenders, front and rear, and the nose piece that happened to already be cut right there. It's just amazing, and the fact that the bike had a freaking Elka rear Zilla shock on it. I just can't believe that. And that shock, the more I've been seeing it today, just sets the bike off so nicely. I mean, it's just such a subtle thing. It's a couple layers deep, but this thing is it just really sets the bike off for me at least. But yeah, guys, this thing is just coming along so fantastic. It's just a dream bike, really. I mean, I've only seen a couple Zillas of this caliber in my whole life that have so much aftermarket accessories on them, and just so much time and effort put into it. You guys are only just seeing me construct the bike, but there's been so much time and effort put into this bike that was way off camera long time ago. Even the exhaust, this bike was a plan 10 years ago. This exhaust was bought 10 years ago, and it's been sitting in a box ever since in this garage. So, guys, I really hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. I've been dreaming about building this bike for a long time. Same with Project LT500r and a couple more projects yet to come. Just some dreams of mine, and they're kind of getting built right before my eyes. So it's pretty freaking cool. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys also were a little fired up. I know some of you guys would be calling out the Banshee in the background. You can say what you want about that, but let me know what you guys think about this Zilla too. This Zilla is freaking awesome. I can't wait to bring this one out to Oklahoma as well and rip it a little bit. I have never actually ridden it yet, but I can assume it's going to be pretty freaking fast. It's gonna have probably close to the same motor that Project LT500r does. And Project LT500r will actually be the fastest Zilla I've probably ever ridden. But anyways, guys, I hope you're having a good day, a good night, whenever you're watching this. Let me know what you guys think about the build, and until next time.